Hey everybody, it's Mike. Let me get things a little straighten that better. There we go, I think. Okay, all that, yada, yada, yada. Chat filter set, right? Okay, so we're going to start off with last time I took Ashley out to Pickwick, we were going for skipjacks. And, well, the skipjacks weren't there. At least not easy to get, so I moved over to another area near the dam and ran into a bunch of Asian carp. So I snagged a couple of those and used, just for bait. And sorry, me and my ceiling fan are having a discussion about why you shouldn't put your rod into a ceiling fan. So I caught a couple of those, and I actually did get to, do some reeling on them, but not like I should have done, because they're a good fight, and I was just fishing for bait, so I don't know, I just wasn't thinking about being a good fiance and all that kind of stuff, and was just, I don't have an excuse. I just wasn't thinking. So, next time we go out, I'm going to have some more equipment for snagging. So, taking my PC Fun Chaos Pro, I've loaded up with 60-pound braid and put it on one of my Anvil extra heavy rods. And the reason for that is, yes, I love my Uncle Lou rods, and my Uncle Lou is a medium heavy and could absolutely handle it. And I believe that I was either using that or a medium from Cast King, and I don't remember which one it was. But I got to thinking and looking around on YouTube, and so the Asian carp are supposed to actually be pretty good eating, actually really good eating. The problem is that nobody eats them because they have a whole bunch of bones. Okay, that's fair. Well, you can, and they actually don't yield as much meat as one would expect. Hey, everybody, let's see, whoops, come back here. Hey, Fishing with Big Mike. Hey, Nitro Kitsu. I make your earth shake. Well, that's awesome. You might want to maybe give your mom her phone back. I don't know. Maybe you just like going through YouTube channels to say silly stuff. I don't know. Whatever makes you happy. So, in any case, next time we go out, we're going to do some snagging. And I wanted to actually go ahead and test out not only the PC Fun Chaos Pro, but also the Alios 400s, because they're supposed to have plenty of drag and plenty of all that stuff. And if you want to test something with a big fish, well, the best thing to do is get you some big fish. And those Asian carp are just not small fish, and since you snag them, they are not easy to, they've got a lot of pulling, they're not easy to bring in, and let me tell you, when we hooked those two, the last time we were out there, and let me tell you, it was easy snagging, they peeled a ton of drag. So I wanted to take the mono off of the Chaos 50, which I've done, and loaded it with braid, and I'll have it ready with a snagging hook next time we go out. So we're going to not just have fun snagging some Asian carp. I'm also going to take some of the, fillet the sides off of them, because like I said, they don't produce a lot of meat or yield as much meat as you'd think, because they have this giant, big, bony head. Hey, cold bass fisherman. So, in any case, like I said, I've been wanting to test out the Chaos Pro 50 with big fish, and I should get the opportunity to do that. So, we're going to tie some rigs, and whoops, this is my 40. I don't want my 40, I want my 80. So these are catfish rigs. So grab me some 80-pound mono here. And what I do with these is tie an egg loop knot. So basically it's like a no-knot snell. You go through the front of the hook, bring your tag end down, and you wrap it 5, 6, 7, 8, however many times you feel like it, till you just get bored wrapping. And that's several. And then you take the standing end and you go through the back of the eye, again, just like you normally would, except you stop with just a little bit of it out, like an inch or so. Then you take this end and you wrap 3 or 4 more times and hold everything in place. And then you pull all this through. And what that does for you, as soon as I get this to slide down properly, is you've got all the benefits of the no-knot snell, except that it can't come loose. You've got the egg loop piece because of those last 4 wraps that you did. You wrapped it around the standing end as well, so it's not going to come loose. You also can then snip your tag end as close as you want. And again, it's not going to come undone. Okay, so then of course you take this in and put a swivel on it. But there's a different rig that I want to show you, which I should have showed you on that one, but whatever. So we'll snip off another piece here. We'll go back and we'll make another egg loop knot. But this time we're going to take our tag end and we're going to go down a little bit. Doesn't have to be a long way. It's just 6, 7 inches. And now we're going to tie that same egg loop knot again. I haven't tied rigs in a while, so I'm using way longer than I need to for the standing end. But I'll get away from that in a minute. And we just keep this all tight and we pull back up. Okay, so this end will go to the swivel, and this end is, well, it's the other end. So what I'm going to do here is just tie a surgeon's loop, which is doubling the line over. Actually, it won't even be a surgeon's loop, it'll just be a loop knot. So we got a little loop knot here. Nothing exciting. And snip that tag end off. So we've got that. Gibbo station, I have really no idea. No, I don't know why you would want pictures, and frankly, it's a little freaky, and do your parents know that you're on the internet? If not, you might want to tell them. Recommendations for catching bullheads. Actually, bullheads are not my forte. You can catch them on worms, you can catch them on minnows. You just have to be, they tend to be in slack water and kind of nasty water. Like I say, not really my forte. So what I've done here is I've just tied a surgeon's loop at the end of some 30-pound fluoro. The Only reason I'm using fluoro is because I'm not a fan of fluoro, so I don't mind just blowing fluoro on this. In just a second, I'm going to have to get on my other phone here. Just a second, I'm going to have to. And this is not doing what I want. Give me just a moment. Okay, so we got that. Okay, let me read some chat here. Where am I fishing out of? Well, I'm not fishing right now, but I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, USA. Hey, Renee Flowers. Hey, Sarah with the last name. Hey, Fishman2. Hey, Gray. Riley Thomas Outdoors. Let's see. Brian, how you doing, brother? Logan Smith. PB Catfish, about 26-pound blue cat. It's been about 20 years ago. Hey, Fat Cat. Hey, Scotty, what do you mean I sound funny? I know I look funny. Hey, Kedra, how you doing? Hope you and Tito are doing well. So anyway, I've got a loop knot here on the end, and I'm going to create another loop knot here. And this one does not need to be very large. And again, you just double the line over itself, and then do basically a double overhand knot. You go over once, and then you go through twice, and that is the surgeon's loop. And let's see if I got enough of that in there. Okay. Snip off that tag end. So what I do here with this rig, so there's my hook, and there's that loop I created earlier. I'm going to take this loop, the smaller of the two on this 30-pound leader, or 30-pound fluoro, run it through itself so it does like so. And what this is going to do for you, so down here at the bottom, much like a drop shot, this is where I will put my weight. And I just run this through the eye of the weight and then over the weight, and that will make a cow hitch knot. And the reason for this, like I said, I've got 80-pound mono here and I got 30-pound mono here. If my weight gets stuck, I can break it off without losing the fish or the hook. And then I could just, add another weight. Because if I had 80-pound mono all the way, or if I had used a sinker slide up top or a Carolina rig, if my weight gets stuck, I'm going to lose the entire rig. So this way I lose the weight, but get to keep my swivel and my hook. Hey, Jake, what do I fish for? I fish for catfish, fish for bluegill. I will fish for striped bass, white bass, and then I go to saltwater and I'll fish for anything saltwater. Also fish for crappie, and you'll catch, whenever you're fishing for bluegill or crappie, you get all kinds of different bycatch, which could be catfish, could be largemouth bass, could be just a little bit of anything. I've gone trout fishing. I don't like trout. I don't like to eat trout. And around here, they stock some rainbows for the winter, but they're farm raised and they don't survive the summers. Plus you have to buy a extra $10 trout stamp. And like I said, just not a fan of trout. So there's that. So there's my 3/0 swivel, my probably 8/0 circle hook, and then it'll go down eventually to a weight. And the good thing about this is you can change the size of the weight based on your conditions. And if you're wondering why I'm using 80-pound mono, well, why not? Catfish are not line shy, so there's no reason not to go with a heavier line. Now, I find that kind of interesting for me to say, because it's certainly arguable that it takes the sport out of it. And actually, I've got some 12-aught hooks over here. I'm just grabbing some of these to use those. But on the other hand, it also ensures that if you hook a fish, you bring it in, and you're not leaving a fish out there with a hook stuck in its mouth. Braxton, how's my day? It's been going great. Jake, I fish around the Memphis area. Hey, let's have a cup of coffee. Man, it has been a long time since I've seen you, Clyde. Glad to see you around, my friend. It has truly been a long time. I'm glad you're here. Hope everything is well with you. And let's see. Rip off some more line here. And we'll do the same thing again. Like I say, I'm just tying rigs. And you know what? Before I do any of that, let me start off and just tie my surgeon's loop here at the bottom. And again, this does not have to be very big, because all we're going to do is run another surgeon's loop to connect. This will do like so. And grab my rig puller. And do all the pulling I can pull. Okay, so that's done, so I could rip off this tag end. And what this allows me to do is now I'm going to come through the back of the hook, which is exactly how it would work the other way if I had run it down. So you still have everything here. You got the tag end, and you've got the ability here to adjust exactly how much length you want between the hook and the tag end. So we'll do our wraps again. Pull the standing end through the back, an inch or two, hold it against the shank of the hook. Do another 3 or 4 wraps here. Keep everything tight so it doesn't come unwound while we're doing this. And there we go. Like I say, the benefit of this is it's not going to come loose because you did the egg loop portion of it. And then we'll come back up to the top. Grab another 3/0 swivel. I'm going to use a tri-lane knot on this. You go through, you go back around, through again, and that creates a loop here. And then you've got this other loop that's about to be created, because you're going to go around 5 times or so. And then you go back through both loops. Wet it down. And pull things tight. Take the rig puller again. And sometimes the knot doesn't seat perfectly. You just bring it down with your fingers, because you want all the slack out of here that you can get. Now, yes, when you get a fish on, it will tighten that knot up, but it's best to have it tight already. I missed a knot. Where did I miss a knot at, Team Snagging Whiskers? Look at there. Ain't that pretty? And then, like I said, we're going to come back with some 30-pound fluoro. And again, I am not a fan of fluoro. Your bass boys will tell you it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. In my experience, it is not as strong. It is not as abrasion resistant. Whether or not it can be seen underwater is a questionable story. And more importantly, it's ridiculously expensive. It doesn't hold knots well. It just doesn't. Of course, I'm boring everybody. That's my job. I mean, you know, if we wanted to see people catch fish, we would go watch Fun Fishing Adventures. But a lot of fishing, whether anybody wants to admit to it or not, is preparation. And that is, I would say it's a boring part of it, but it also is required. So we're back to this. So this is the tag end off of the original 80-pound leader we did. We run the small loop through there. We run the big loop through the small loop. Then you have back-to-back loops here. And then again, your sinker goes down here. So there you go. If I had any sense, I would have had somewhere to hang these or something. But common sense is not as common as people want to make it sound like it is. Hang these off out of the way. Hope everybody's having a good evening. So, hey Shannon. Tito, my PB crappie, I never weighed it because I caught it during a bass tournament. And it was so dark because it was spawning time. I didn't even know what it was. But it was at least 43 feet long. That was probably a couple pounds. But it's one of those, I'm like, what is this thing? I lose patience a lot, especially when I'm paying attention to bird nest reel. Yes, absolutely. Catch Quest, my PB is about 26-pound blue cat. Glad you love the stream. It is the learning channel and quite tedious. Thanks for very much. Deep sea fishing. Oh, now that sounds like fun. I do love saltwater fishing. Gonna have a girls' day tomorrow. Well, that's awesome. I love saltwater fishing. I haven't caught a lot of good fish saltwater fishing. I did catch a speckled trout finally. I've caught some white trout. I fish in the panhandle of Florida when I fish for saltwater. I did catch an Atlantic sharpnose last time I was out surf fishing. I fished both surf and then off of a dock in the Intracoastal Waterway. I've caught a permit, caught some small jacks, croakers and pinfish and all that kind of stuff, but I haven't really, and of course, lots of catfish. Gaff top sail cats, and of course, hardheads all the time. Going fishing tomorrow, Tito. That does sound like you, man. You go fishing a lot. You and Kedra are just killing it out there. Love watching y'all's videos. So Tito and Kedra are in North Mississippi, I believe, is where they. I don't know if that's where they're from, but that's where they mainly fish. And they will go after bluegill, shellcrackers, crappie. I don't know what else they fish for, but I've seen their videos on those, and they do catch some nice ones. Never heard of Lake Alomar. So no, I've not fished it. What's my bait? Right now, an empty hook. When I catfish, skipjack, Asian carp, bluegill, salted shrimp. I'm just not a trout fisherman. I don't like trout. Plus, the ones that they stock here are going to be rainbows, and they're going to be, maybe a pound if you're lucky. Anywhere from like 8 to 12 inches. And trout, of course, have a lot of bones. And I just am not a big fan of their flavor. Got a fishing buddy that tells me, oh, you just need to use some almond extract on them, and they're just great. And I'm like, almond extract? I cannot imagine putting almond extract on a fish. But there we go. About 10 minutes from Memphis. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen you fishing down like Tunica area, and then other areas that I didn't really recognize. Tell you, I want to go where I want to I want to go over to Horseshoe Lake in Arkansas. I haven't been there yet. I do have my Arkansas license, so that makes it a lot easier to do. The problem is I like fishing the Mississippi, but with no dam here, the water level fluctuates so much, and I don't really have any major, any really good spots there. Plus, you're not supposed to eat anything out of the Mississippi from north of Meeman Shelby Forest. No, not me. Yeah, Meeman Shelby. Yeah, Shelby Forest. There we go. Down to the Mississippi state line and probably past it. You can bank fish at Horseshoe, from what I understand. There's a small area that is open to the public. It's the boat ramp and an area around it. But for the most part, it's privately owned houses around there, which is good because, you get docks and boat houses and stuff. Yeah. But I don't know how good the bank fishing is there. Pulled down a little bit better so I can get my knot tied. There we go. Well, so salmon, yeah, there are no salmon around here. The trout fishing just isn't my thing. I'm sure using the trout head for bait would be a very good bait, but for catfish and such. But they're not my thing. And plus, like I said, when they're that small, they don't give. It's not much of a fight. You might as well catch a bluegill. Why you didn't go to the LA riot? That's a really good question. I was thinking about it. I was like sitting here going, you know what I need to do? I need to fly out to LA and join in a protest to make sure that people who are in the country illegally aren't kicked out of the country for being here illegally. Because, being here illegally doesn't make someone a criminal. Oh, wait. Yeah, it does. So that's all we're going to talk about, the LA riots. And I don't think that they're riots at this point. I think that it was going to get that way. I think that people need to have better things to do with their lives than start burning cars up and breaking into buildings and looting and stuff like that. But those aren't the people that are out protesting. Those are opportunistic pricks that just want to feed on other people instead of going out and earning their own keep. Yeah, now brown trout and even rainbows that are, like I said, they die here. They can't survive the summer in these lakes that they're putting them in because the lakes are, 10 feet deep. So the summer heat it wipes them out. And if it were something like the White River over in Arkansas, it'd be different because there are, a lot of trout in there. It's a cold water river system and all that fun stuff. And I've fished for trout down at Heber Springs, Arkansas, at the dam off the Greers Ferry Lake to the Little Red River. And I didn't catch anything. But there were some good fish to be caught in there. It's just, I'm not just not a trout fisherman. I don't know how to say it any differently than that. You know, if the trout were bigger, I'd probably like it more. But then I'm more of a catch and release fisherman to begin with, and I don't know how well trout handle catch and release. I mean, I know that there are areas where it is absolutely only catch and release, so apparently they can survive it. But you know, catfish can stay out of water for an excessive amount of time. But you know, like fish like stripers. Stripers do not do well out of water for any period of time. Catch Quest, I do not carp fish. However, it looks like fun, and I will probably do it at some point. I had made some pack bait and was gonna, but it ended up I didn't. So had to throw the pack bait away because it got nasty and moldy. But a lot of my YouTube buddies do, and it looks like a blast. Interesting for those who think of carp as a trash fish. In Europe and Asia, they eat them. It's I think carp is the most eaten fish in the world. Americans, we like our boneless fillets, and carp have a lot of bones. I mean, Asian carp, the big head and the silver carp and stuff like that we despise because they're taking over our river systems, they are a food source. And if they had natural predators here, it'd be different, and they wouldn't be doing as much ecological damage as they do, but that is a food source. But again, they have a lot of Y bones in them. They have 2 strips of Y bones on each side. So you have to do a lot of filleting to get a boneless fillet out of them. And they have gigantic heads, which, of course, you know, cuts down on the yield. I had 2. They had to have been over 20 pound each, Asian carp. And I used part of them for bait. But what I brought home and cleaned up, and I didn't clean it well, I'm not going to lie to you, because I didn't really know how to do it. And I was basically just filleting the sides off, or cutting the sides off for bait, chunking it up, putting it in vacuum seal bags, and throwing it in the freezer. So next time I go out, I mean, I've got one of those big, I don't know, 80 quart coolers, the big Igloo marine cooler, the big white ones, and they wouldn't fit in it because the fish was too long. And yeah, the coolers, you can't see either one of my hands. They had to been here's at least 3 feet long. So yeah, my goal is that when we snag them, if we get into them again, snag them, I'm going to fillet both sides off of them, not boneless, just fillet the sides off, and pop the bladder and throw the carcass back in so the turtles and other fish have something to eat. And when I get home, I'll use some of it for bait, and I'll actually fillet off the Y bones and try it out. I also want to try gar. Last time I was down in the Intracoastal Waterway, I managed to hook 2 gar. Well, hooked 3. I got 2 of them and landed 2 of them. Third one broke when I was trying to lift it out. I was surprised to catch them in saltwater, but it is kind of brackish there. It's the Intracoastal is connected to the bays, and the bays are fed by rivers and mixes with saltwater. That freshwater mixes with saltwater and all that kind of stuff. So, depending on the time, tides and all that kind of stuff, it can be higher or lower salinity. But I was surprised to catch them. But I was watching a YouTube video recently I actually watched several on how to clean them, and one of them, they use the hatchet method. Some people use 10 snips, but I saw one that went after it with a sawzall to cut the top of the back off. So just at the very top of the fish, just cut across there, and that's to get the very thick skin, because it's hard to, you don't cut that with a knife that you like, and even then you're not really going to cut much quickly with a knife. Once you get through that skin, then you can go ahead and use your fillet knife and take the two big giant back straps off of it. And that's the thing that I think is exciting about gar. One, the meat looks absolutely beautiful, and the other is that you get two really nice big fillets off of the fish. Because gar is another one of those fish that everybody considers to be nothing but a trash fish, a nuisance fish, all that kind of stuff. And I'd heard of gar balls and all that kind of stuff, where but I didn't know you could actually fillet off big chunks of meat. To fish the Delta, not really. I'll fish the Mississippi River from about Shelby Forest, north of Memphis, about 20 miles down to close to the state line. I'll fish from the Arkansas side too, but we don't have any dams down here, right? The closest dam I think is in Cairo, Illinois, where the Ohio comes into the Mississippi, and I think the last dam on the actual Mississippi is up in Alton, Illinois, across from St. Louis. So the water flow down here is uncontrolled. As such, you get a lot of, that's the other end's not plugged in. Let me fix that. Camera other end. Okay. So when the water comes down, you've got the Tennessee River runs into the Ohio River runs into Mississippi, and the Tennessee River, there's a lot of houses on the lakes of the river, so they are very careful not that Tennessee doesn't flood, but they try to keep the water levels somewhat regulated. And down here in Memphis, the water's running 6 miles an hour typically. And if you've never been in 6 mile an hour current, it moves quickly. You get your boat to the spot that you want to fish, and by the time you get up to drop the anchor, it's up there somewhere, that place that you wanted to fish. Let's see. JP, I don't know what you want to do with that MAGA nonsense. This ain't the place, bro. Keep your politics out of it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're never going to convince anybody anything. Let's see. Catfish. Yes, Tito, I have fished Herb Parsons. I've only fished it a few times, so I don't have any super secret spots or anything out there. I fished Glen Springs more, but if you've been to Glen Springs, it's a pain in the rear end to fish because there's so much hydrilla. You can get your trolling motor just wrapped up in that stuff, and it's everywhere. So parts of the Delta, no, not really. Tito's probably fished more of the Delta than I have. Like I say, I stay north of the Mississippi state line for the most part. Now, if Arca Butler ever opens back up, I'll get my Mississippi license again, and I'll go down there because was one of the 4 big crappie trophy lakes in Mississippi. You have Arca Butler, Grenada, Enid, and Sardis. All 4 of those I think the minimum length to keep a crappie was 12 inches. So that I'd tell you. Yes, you can catch a bunch of 11 3/4. You know how that goes. The Asian carp is fun to catch. The problem is that you now have this 5 to 50 pound fish that you're like, well, crap, now what do I do? Because you can't release it legally, not alive. You know, if you want to stab it through the gut pocket and pop the air bladder so it sinks to the bottom, I guess you can do that. Please don't throw them up on the bank to rot because nobody likes that. Do I know Fish Good? I don't know. I think I've seen the name around. Fish Alton all the time, yeah. I missed out when I was up in St. Louis. I lived up in Florissant for a while, 30 years ago, back when it was a decent place to live. And, you know, fished park ponds and went out to bush wildlife area. Tried fishing the Merrimack, but it was around Fenton, but it was so shallow that I didn't know what to do. River fishing and lake fishing are so much different. I grew up fishing ponds and then I started fishing lakes, but then you start getting into rivers, and rivers are a whole nother ball of wax. Scotty, I have not fished with marshmallows, but I've seen several people have fun with them. Do I know Fish Dog? No, I do not. Let's see. What about Tunica Cutoff? No, but I know Tito has fished there and has told me it's excellent. One day I might have to hook up with Tito and Hedra and go down to Tunica Cutoff and see what we can do. My camera looks off, but otherwise, hello. It's not my camera's off, it's my face. My face is as it is. Now what's interesting is it looks fine on the one camera, but I'm looking at the live stream on another phone and everything looks a little squished. I don't know. Little 2.5 pounder. Good job, Kogan. I do not ever get up to, the only thing I ever did in Alton, Illinois was get on the casino up there. What is my rig for 15-pound braid? Well, Matthew, if I'm going to use 15-pound braid, I'm going to be in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, whatever. Or I'll be using 10-pound braid for bluegill and such. I tend to use 4-pound mono, but 10-pound braid I've got on 1 or 2 rigs in case I go out with someone who is not used to using drag and stuff like that. But with 15-pound braid, that's going to be my main line, and I'll be using a leader of some sort. And I'll make a pompano style rig. But instead of using the goofy T-knots that people use, because they're not very strong, I will use a triple surgeon's loop in place of it. I cannot catch catfish on lakes to save my life. Cannot catch bass on rivers to save my life. Just a hot mess. Yeah, brother, I understand where you're coming from. I've gotten on the Mississippi and I'm like, where would I even look for crappie? Because, you know, when the water is moving, it's different than when you're fishing an impoundment of whatever type. Even on an impoundment, you know, you can have some current, but not a lot. But, you know, you're going, well, where are you going to find brush pile in the middle of Mississippi? Yeah, so I understand. So I do look squished. Okay, well, I'm just using YouTube. I don't know if I've done something. Ooh, there or not. Let's see. Yeah. Don't know if that helps any. It doesn't. I don't know why. I'll have to look into that at some point. Let's see. Yeah, I can turn my camera on and off. I don't know that that's going to help. Let's see here. Waiting for it to come come back. Oh, even my logo was squished. So yeah, I got to do something about that. Um, Listen, Scotty, what's the best overall reliable 9mm handgun? Well, a lot of them. Um, I mean, the go-to standard is Glock. Not a huge Glock fan. Smith and Wesson M&P series, anything from the Shield to the Shield Plus to the compact to the full size, any of those. Even the Smith and Wesson SV9 or S9 VE, SD9 VE is perfectly usable. It has a crappy trigger, but it's perfectly usable otherwise. Of course, there's Ruger. You can't go wrong with Ruger. You can even get Kel-Tec in 9mm. You can get SCCY in 9mm. Of course, you can get a high point if you you know, want a big, blocky, heavy gun that once you run out of bullets, you can beat somebody in the head with it. It's I don't know that there's a lot of unreliable 9mm. Taurus even makes some decent 9mm. The Millennium G2, and I forget what it went up to past that. They changed it. I think that may just be the G3 and G4. I don't remember. Yeah, there's a ton. Let's see. One of these days I'll come fish with you. Probably once it gets cooler, though. That's absolutely fair. Yeah, it's annoying me that this is the way it is. Just a second, be right back. Okay, so I'm back here. Ooh, look, I think my head got smaller. Using a phone. Can't tell if my head got smaller or not. Oh, it is fixed. Good. So 22s. I love 22s. 22s are awesome. I've got the Ruger, the absolute ubiquitous 22 rifle that everybody and their brother has, and I've got two of them, and I should be able to tell you right off the Ruger. Anyway, got one of those. Got two of those actually. 1022. There we go. I have a Browning, I think it's Buckmark pistol. It looks like kind of like a Luger. Love that thing. Ooh, they're just fun to shoot. No question about it. Absolutely fun. Guys, if you haven't hit the thumbs up and you feel bored and want to do something nice for humanity, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. You can also subscribe. Sometimes I actually fish. A lot of times I just yap. But I do post deals when I find them. Okay, there's a deal up right now for Monster rod holders. The Ranger series. There's just posted one today for the Lose Speed Spin size 30 reel for $30. And it's not stuff I make a commission off of or affiliates or any of that nonsense. And not nonsense. I don't have any of that stuff. I'm not making anything out this. If I find a good deal, I share it. It's just that simple. Because I like good deals. I have not used the Lose Speed Spin, so I can't vouch for it being a great reel. But it's got seven bearings. I think it's 6+1 or 7+1. I forget. And for $30, you know, it's hard to go wrong. You can go wrong at $30, but Lose is a good brand in general. So yeah, there's that. I also do go fishing. I do live streams about this, that, and the other. And there you go. What kind of string do I like using? So for my main line, I tend to use Suffix Superior. If I'm using mono, I use 30 or 40 pound. I also use Trilene Big Game. The Suffix seems to be as strong and maybe a little more supple, manageable, whatever, less memory. I don't know. That's what I use. For For braid, I actually use Hercules braid. It's what you can get off of Amazon, and I just got some in today actually. I don't buy any of the expensive braid like Power Pro or Spider Wire or Suffix 832, or maybe that's mono, and maybe that's Flora. I forget. Anyway, I won't spend the money for really expensive line. I will not say that I can tell you that the Hercules is as good as any of those. I can tell you it's good enough for me, though. There you go. I have not used Fireline in decades. I started using our tried braid back when it kind of first hit the scene and was, the next big thing. But there were a lot of problems with it grinding through guides because the guides on rods were not made for that. They weren't made to stand up to it. Things have changed since then, obviously. But, I hear people, a bunch of saltwater guys, well, you need, Power Pro Super Slick braid. And I looked at the price of that. It's like $30 to spool a reel. I'm like, homie, don't play that at all. Tito, Pickwick I have not fished the lake in decades. But I have gone to the spillway a couple of times. Or the dam, I guess would be a better way of putting it. The first time I got some good skipjack. The second time, caught a couple Asian carp. And got a bunch of bites, but it was probably turtles or gar. But the problem is Pickwick is a 2-hour drive from here. And depending on how you go, from your area, I'd take 72, to be honest with you. If you go out 64, the drive there is not bad, but coming back, the slow lane is atrocious. It's bumpy. It's just, you pretty much have to stay in the left-hand lane because otherwise you're going to get beaten to death. Hey, Crypto Billy, how you doing? Hello, James, if I haven't said that yet. I'm so different on my live. You mean I behave and don't act like a putz? Well, every channel has its own way of doing things. And why is this not charging? Should be. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Okay, let's go back over to here. Because that one is definitely charging. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm going to end here pretty soon anyway. Ashley has gotten back finally. She's had a busy day today, and I was actually going to go fishing tonight out at Appling Lake. They had the kids fishing rodeo last weekend. They had the lake closed for about a week prior to that because they were stocking it and didn't want adults stealing all the fish. And I wanted to go down there and see what's there. I've seen complaints about people saying that there's nothing in there already. What an idiot! That does sound like me. But my left shoulder, which is my casting arm, there's parts of it I can't. I can move it fine certain ways, but other ways it's like, like trying to lift it. I think I've got a pinched nerve or something. I don't know. So that's why I didn't go live fishing tonight. And for people that aren't from Memphis, you won't understand this or really appreciate it. Memphis Parks Department does not allow fishing in any of the city parks. Yeah, it probably is a rotator cuff, but I don't want to know that because that requires surgery, and I don't want that. They don't allow fishing in the city parks. So residents of the city of Memphis who want to go fishing have to either go to the Mississippi River or drive out to one of the TWRA lakes, and in addition to paying a fishing license, they have to pay a TWRA lake fee that's actually as much as a fishing license. Or they can go to the park ponds in the surrounding suburbs, which is not really fair to the surrounding suburbs who have to, the lakes aren't big enough to support, to self-sustain. So they're just going to get picked clean every time. Oh, it is an excuse. It's an excuse that Memphis city government is, what's the word I'm looking for? It rhymes with ass. Now, these are the same morons that have neutered the police department to say you can't chase anybody for more than a minute without getting supervisor approval, and it better be a felony then. We have, I kid you not, they're wanting to raise the price of tags $5 for everybody because in the last year, 100,000 vehicles have not, the number has dropped by 100,000 of the vehicles registered in Shelby County. You know why that is? Because they all have fake drive-out tags. Why? Because it's cheaper and they don't want to be able to get tracked by the police. And they know the police can't track them, can't follow them. So having a fake tag really means that you can do whatever you want and not get caught. Dylan, if that's English, I don't know how to help you. Perhaps try a little harder. You know, the city of Memphis, the joke is, come to Memphis for music and stay because they stole your car. There's a crime problem in the city of Memphis. Some people don't want to admit to it, but it is what it is. I mean, one of the WREG Channel 3 news reporters got carjacked while getting gas. So there you go. I mean, if they're gonna if they're gonna carjack the reporters, what more can you do? Well, yes, we have bass. I'm just not a big bass fisherman. I used to be, but you know, you go to hell if you eat a bass. Bass, and I do not dislike bass fishermen. If it weren't for bass anglers, conservation wouldn't be where it is now. But you know, you're not supposed to. They went really. Bass fishermen get mad at you if you harvest a bass. I think they went a little too heavy on that. And bass are finicky. As stupid as that sounds, they like certain areas. They like certain conditions, and you know, with catfish, you're allowed to use live bait. You're allowed to use real bait. With bass, you know, it's a faux pas. You're supposed to only use artificials. Little crappie you can play with. You know, and bass to me are not really excellent table fare. Oh, Dylan, you've never seen me catch a catfish? Most people have not seen me catch catfish. Doesn't mean I don't fish for them, just means I'm not very good at it. And right now the spawn is on for catfish, which makes them even harder to catch. And I think that that's one of the reasons that catfish survive so well. So bluegill, they spawn typically, you know, 4 to 6 months out of the year, kind of centered around the full moon. If it's a full moon, or you know, within 3 days each direction of a full moon, you can find them on beds. Crappie, they go shallow to spawn. Bass, they go shallow and to bed and spawn. Your big bass tournaments are during the spawn. Your big crappie tournaments are during the spawn. Not all of them, but some of them are. So you take these fish that are out there making babies, and you drag them off the bed, which means there's nobody there to protect the fry or the eggs or whatever they are at that juncture. or you pull them off before they've actually gotten to do their business. The skipjack are doing their run or getting done with their spring run, but you know, they're like shooting fish in a barrel at certain times. Catfish, when they're spawning, good luck. They don't. They're hard to catch. You pretty much have to throw a bait right in front of their face and then tick them off enough to get them to eat it. Oh, I was a good fisherman. I don't know when it was, but sometime. You're my biggest fan? Wow. Thank you. Probably need better things to do with your life than be my biggest fan, but I appreciate the thought. Anyway, I just wanted to tie some rigs up tonight, talk about snagging some Asian carp because I'm really excited about that. And Scotty, the skipjack that he was catching at Kentucky Dam earlier, let's see, what day is today? I guess it was last weekend. They were about like this. 6, 8 inches, maybe, something like that. And I would love to catch one that size, put it on a hook, and snip the tail enough that it would be unable to swim the way it normally swims, and drop it down with a big weight down at the bottom, and see if a catfish would just take the whole darn thing. I'm not a baddie, I'm an idiot. Hey, Crypto Billy. Phone number 867-5309. What? I don't know how to help you. Anyway, thank you for everybody who's joined. I'm going to go ahead and call it an evening. I appreciate each and every one of you that isn't trolling. Appreciate you liking, thumbs up, and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Mandy Miles, you just came in at the right time. I'm leaving. Hey, Flounda Pounda, how you doing? That's Randy from out in Oregon. He fishes for, I know, give me a surprise, flounder. But he also does a lot of searching for clams and probably does crabs too and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. Appreciate you guys coming in. We will see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody. Good night.